Support the Amigos podcast and keep the Amiga goodness flowing for just $1 a month. Visit our page at patreon.com/AmigosPodcast.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Hi everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to talk about Arabian Nights.
Beautiful, man.
You've never seen Aladdin, have you?
Hell no.
No. There's a new version.
I know, it looks hideous.
Has your kid been begging to see that?
No, he's begging not to see it.
Oh, well that's...
He wants to be able to sleep at night. That's a no-no.
Did you see Detective Pikachu?
He saw it.
You didn't attend?
No.
Not in attendance.
I don't get to go to movies. I got to
After the
work.
incident,
I got to work, you see. I got to get the money to get the tickets for other people. I don't get to go.
Oh, what a life. What a life.
Thank God for piracy. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
So, Aaron, this week's game, Arabian Nights, where do you stand? You know, you've got these different sorts of settings for fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
You've got your sci-fi, your space, Star Trek type setting. You got your medieval, swords and sorcery, and then you have your sort of exotic Persian setting. If you were going to rank your sort of favorite settings for a fantasy, where would they be?
Well, an interesting question, Bode. I think the Arabian setting is rather underserved. When I was a kid, you heard a lot more about the Alibaba and all this stuff.
Sinbad?
And because I remember as a child, Persia and the Arab countries were very exotic locales that seemed like they were full of magic and wonderment.
Right.
And then of course there's been lots of conflict and crap under the bridge, and so now when you look at that stuff now, you're a little trepidatious, right? But the fact of the matter is they've got there's a style and a lore that was built up around the romantic version of the Arabian Nights and whatnot that is appealing. Is it my favorite backdrop for reading,
fantasy
or
adventure?
It's okay. It's not my favorite. I like space, obviously. I like the medieval stuff, the D&D type stuff. But D&D did have a Middle Eastern themed supplement or box set that was quite popular. And
what was it called?
I can't remember. I was sitting there trying to think. I've got it. It's a sad thing. I like some games. I mean, Prince of Persia. I like the newer, not the newest. I haven't played them, but the newer ones were pretty good.
PS2 era sort of thing. Yeah.
I thought they did a good job bringing it forward. So it's okay. I think that some more could be done with it, to be completely honest.
I think you're right. I think that the Middle Eastern, especially when I was a kid growing up, we're so far removed in age that whenever I heard Sinbad growing up, I always just thought people were talking about the comedian.
Oh God!
Because I used to watch his special all the time. It's hilarious.
It's funny. I listen to a lot of old time radio shows.
Sinbad not appearing on most of those.
And when there are several lands that they speak of in a very romantic tone. One of them is what I call Persia, which the Middle Eastern areas, and the other one, amazingly and hilariously, is Cuba. Cuba need to get their act together down there. God bless them, because they could be making money hand over fist.
I mean, they were a tourist mecca before the 50s.
They should. My buddy said the best night he ever spent on Earth was sleeping on a Cuban beach. How beautiful it was, and hopefully someday we can all get along. And the same thing with the Middle East.
Yeah.
I've heard nothing. There's tons of beautiful sites, everything, things to do that you can't see anywhere else. We just got to work it out. But as a setting, I think it's a underutilized setting. But I mean, it's a sign of the times.
We'll hash it out on this week's episode. We'll make it oversaturated.
I don't know. So you did do me favors with that.
So Aaron, let's talk about what's been going on in the world of the Dreamcatcher, our man on the street.
Dreamcatcher has been a maniac the past week or so. Now, admittedly, we didn't go over any news last week, and so DK has put up a bunch of stuff in the interim. So we're just going to go over these real quick. I don't think we talked about this mash of the sprite ands. this, I think we may have touched this. I can't remember, but he goes into Clash of the Titans, which I have to say. Have you ever seen the original Clash of the Titans film?
This is what's the guy's name that's famous for the stop motion animation?
Oh God, you had something House, Israel House.
Yeah, something like that.
He's a genius. This was the last big film that used his sort of animation, and it was awesome, and it stands the test of time. Love this. Have you seen this one?
I have not seen any. Oh, it's Henryhausen or something like Ray Henryhausen.
This movie, Release the Kraken. This is where you ever heard that term?
I've heard that.
This is the movie it came from. Release the Kraken.
This was they redid this movie recently, right?
And it was not good. Listen, stop screwing with good movies. Do bad ones. Go back and remake crap. This was fine. This was an awesome flick. I liked every part of it. The Kraken was awesome. Medusa was awesome. The mechanical owl. None of this means anything to you, does it? And so clearly, the DK uses Clash of the Titans as the backdrop to this particular game, which I believe was called
Pegasus.
Yeah, I've never heard of this game as usual. I've never played this game, but it looks pretty good. Any game where you get to drive around on the flying horse, I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm down with the clown.
I've always been that way.
Have you ever ridden a real horse?
Oh man,
I don't know.
One of my best friends growing up had horses.
I don't know if you're
an
equestrian.
Yeah,
that's the correct term?
I'm an equestriist, baby.
Are you? I don't know what that means. So the next item on the DK docket, it's not Hammer Time.
Oh.
Remember when you first heard that song?
Yes, I was in elementary school and I thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever heard in my life.
I wasn't too fond of it when I first heard it.
Really?
Yeah, because it totally ripped off. I was like, Rick James?
Yeah.
When I heard it, I was like, oh, it's Rick James. I was like, what the hell is this?
What do you think about the rest of the MC Hammer ooh-wah?
Well, I will say, my heart has softened toward Hammer. And part of the reason is he's just such a goofy character. He's got those big pants. He dances around like a goofball. But you can't help but sort of
I love that song he did with the Addams Family, the Addams Groove.
That wasn't him. That was you're talking about. I'm talking about the guy. The Whoop, the Addams Family. There it is. The Whoop, there it is, guys.
That had nothing to do with the Addams Family.
So this is a separate song that I've never heard this one.
Oh really? Oh man, they do what they want to do. I can do the whole thing. Maybe I'll do that as the Patreon song one.
Man, are you gonna do the dance too?
Oh yeah.
So, DK. Again, I like how he springboards from one thing to another. I know really MC Hammer has little to do with this article. This is Crystal Palace.
Is this like a Crystal Castles?
It's a platform.
Oh, okay.
And I've never. Again, I think this was in a magazine, so your mileage may vary on that one. Moving along, I moved too far. Jules Rimet blaspheming. Right there with Soccer Kid.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
I see it.
And I haven't read this one. He
got some hot action on this. 7 comments.
So, Soccer Kid. It's funny this should come up. It's a time waste today's
Chrysalis,
headline.
Yeah.
Because Soccer
This week's
Kid
game.
is intertwined with our fellow in this game. They're very similar. You have to check this one out. I have not read this one yet. This is one I haven't gotten to. I'm sure it looks like it's about Soccer Kid, which we covered. How long ago since we covered Soccer Kid?
All the games run together.
Soccer Kid wasn't my favorite. I know you liked it a lot more than I did.
If you're looking for quality platformers on the Amiga, Soccer Kid is near the top.
What? No.
Yes.
No, I don't agree with that.
Well,
I think you're
not really a platformer guy.
What do you say? You're invalidating my opinion on platformers? I think the people know who the platformer guy is. Now let's talk about this last article. It's Only Forever, not long at all.
This is from Shadow of the Beast. Yeah,
that's true. But the game in question here, I believe, is Agony. Now we have never covered this game, I don't believe, but I've played it many times. Did you ever do we do Amigos play on this?
I haven't played. This is one of these games you always see it in the top 10 of Amiga game, all-time top 10 Amiga games. This is a first. There was Menace joint, right?
Well,
DMA Design, didn't they do this one?
Well, but it's not. It's different than Menace. And this one, you play it, and you basically play the Psygnosis logo, an owl, and you fly across the screen left to right. It's a shooter. Beautiful, beautiful shooter. Awesome music, but it is hard.
Hard as nails.
It's not as hard as other games. Part of the reason it's so hard is because your guy's so big.
Yeah.
But the graphics and stuff on it are just tippity top. We'll probably have to get into this one at some point. I'm sure we're going to get to it.
This is on the AGSC list, so I'm sure that it will be coming up.
This and
Awesome
are a couple games we've never gotten to that I would like to get to at some point. I think Awesome is way better.
Yeah, you really cheerlead this Awesome game, and no one else seems to have played it.
It's been killed every time I've tried to get some action out of it. So yeah, 4 offerings from the man who never stops, and they look like it's some good stuff there.
Absolutely. Aaron, let's talk about what's been going on in this week in Amiga news. Big news of the week, Aaron. It's International Amiga Day. What are the chances that we record on International Amiga Day?
The same chances that we start the podcast the day of the Amiga's anniversary.
Now, that's true. Now, when I first saw this, I think Pixels at Dawn tweeted about this morning, and I immediately went to the New York Times to find their write-up on it. I was shocked to learn that they didn't report on this particular news item.
Typical press.
Yeah. Ignoring the biggest stories.
Correct.
Mainstream media. You know where to go.
Correct.
Retro Computing News has the scoop. Okay, so they've got some stories with Jay Miner. They've got an AUI interview here. If you're looking to do something to celebrate International Amiga Day, head on over to retrocomputingnews.com and check out their coverage of International Amiga Day.
In honor of International Amiga Day, I played a crap load of Amiga today. There you go.
It
was glorious.
Other big news, Aaron. There's a new game in town.
I've been hearing about this game. This has a Defender of the Crown Deluxe Edition level of hype. Because I heard about this for I've heard about this forever.
Right. This game has been years in the making. It's finally been released. Reshoot R. This is a game for purchase. I believe that, yes, the digital download edition. €29.95, 30 euros. That is far and away the most expensive digital download Amiga game I have ever seen.
30 years. Now, what do you have to play this on?
This is you need
Looks like you have to have an
AGA.
020. So that's a spicy meatball, as they say. What to see? Now, I watched a little in-game footage because I had a feeling at some point our paths are going to cross this game, so I didn't want to hose myself on it, but. It looks pretty good.
It kind of reminds me, it's got that sort of, I know it's a different kind of game, but it's got sort of that Super Stardust vibe.
It's funny you should mention that because that's the first thing I thought of.
Really?
It's probably the
asteroids,
meteors that are flying around. It looks pretty. And so it's not super duper fast. So we'll just have to see how it goes. I'm sure we will come across this and probably drop down. Or how much you say it was 30 euros?
30 euros.
That's for the digital. How much is the box copy?
I think 49.
I think I just get the box.
Yeah.
Now, I wonder what the exchange rate is these days, Boatster.
Looks like I think it's about 130.
I wonder what the difference is between the Signature Edition and the Pure Edition.
Let's see. Let's look at the Pure Edition here.
Pure uncut game.
Looks like it just comes with a separate audio CD soundtrack.
And what's the other one come with that's more expensive?
I think it just comes with the box.
Well, maybe the other one's more expensive.
No, the Signature Edition is the less expensive version.
Oh, okay. I got you here. So, I think I can probably go without that. I'm wondering if the music's any good.
I don't know.
So, yeah, it's on the list. Oh boy, thank you, Lauren. What do you think about this? You watched some of the footage. Are you down with the clown? And what do you think about pay? To us, this is a straight up proper game release. This isn't like they're charging the big money.
Right off the bat, this does not impress me as a game worth $30. We've covered several games that are much cheaper and much better. For example, what was the name of that puzzle game that we played that was great?
It was good, but again, we haven't not played this. I don't want to say that was much better than this.
I can just tell from that 30-second clip that we just watched.
I was gonna say you can't appraise a game. Don't bury this game. You haven't even played it yet. So I'm gonna withhold judgment. I will say
I will not withhold judgment.
First of all, anyone that releases an Amiga game of some quality in 2019, complete with box, the whole kit and caboodle, I'm cool with that. That's A-okay. Not some kind of slop job, a real proper game. And listen, if the game warrants an expenditure of $30 to $40, if it's straight up good, more power to you. I hope nothing but success. And we'll just see how listen, once you make a game like this, you've set a price point, you've got your dealio. After that, the game stands on fall.
Now,
on its own
I will
merit.
say this. This guy, I think this is a one-man show. I think,
Really?
and I've read in this Indie Retro Game News article that this guy, Richard Lowenstein, he's been working on this thing for literally years.
Yeah, I've heard about this thing for a long time.
So I don't blame anybody that wants to charge, whatever they think is worth their time for this period of years, which is, a labor of love. For me, I'm not the biggest fan of shooters, and that probably has a lot to do with it. If this was a really cool looking role playing game or something like a Zelda, like that Zelda fan remake that we've been seeing on the news here, I might be more down with that. But I mean,
worthy. That's the word.
Worthy, yeah. That to me, that was the epitome of right price point with right product.
That thing was what, $5? Or something
I think it was
like
about 10.
Yeah,
about 10. Yeah.
Hey, listen. I will have a look at this, and if it looks like something that's cool, I'll pay the bucks.
If the selection committee chooses it for us, we'll throw down the cash for it. No questions asked.
Because it's never going to go down in price.
No.
No matter whether it's good or bad. And if maybe the box stuff's cool. You don't know what they got going. Plus the CD,
right.
Cool. It's funny. That should come up because. Well, two reasons. One, I think Amiga Bill world premiered this last week.
He did.
And the other thing is, remember a couple weeks ago we did a game. Oh God, it was a Star Glider 2, and it came with its own audio.
It came with the tape, yeah.
And I got it finally.
I was going to say, did that finally come in the mail?
And I did not pay $50 for it, but I can tell you, but I did get it. I haven't listened to the tape yet though, so I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, so not a new precedent here. This is something that they were doing when Star Glider 2 was around.
Yeah. Now, I mean, Laurent Giroux brings up a great question in the chat. He says, "Interesting remark, Ron. You done messed up. How much would you guys pay for an arcade perfect official version of, say, Super Hang-On? Would you shell out real dollars for any port?"
It's funny, Laurent, that you'd mention that. I'll tell you why. I was just at an arcade, and they had a twin Super Hang-On there with their bikes.
Yeah, man.
Now the kid chose to instead get on the snowboard simulator. But
right. Yeah.
You can get a Super Hang-On pretty cheap, the arcade version. So, and I'm not the biggest fan of that particular game. However, here's the thing, Laurent, and this is what I'm saying about this particular game. I will pay if the price is warranted. If I think it's a good-looking title, by God, especially as someone that's coming from the ground, blue-collar programmer, working by himself on an old machine, trying to get some action. By God, I'd pay the money. That's the way I look at it. I like that. We need quality software put out by passionate people, and if they're going to charge, if you're listening, and I know this from working in computers all my life, you need to charge what your time is worth. I never did it. I always took a bath on all these deals I did. So if this game and the box and all the cool stuff that comes with it is worth 47 euros or whatever, and people are paying that for it, and I'm sure they are, more good on it.
Yeah.
Will it be a good game that I'm into? Only time will tell. And hopefully it's a demo or something. But if we have to buy it outright, we just buy it. Giving money to somebody who was actually out there doing the job. So I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. Well said. Aaron, speaking of guys putting their nose to the grindstone, releasing quality content, let's talk about Chrysalis Software and their game, Arabian Nights.
All right, so Arabian Nights. Now, as we always do before we kick these things off, had you ever played this bad boy?
Never. And I can't believe it. I can't believe that this thing, I didn't do a whole lot of research because that's your bag. I'm eager to find out what, if any, other platforms this thing came out on.
Well, for starters, we have covered Chrysalis before.
Yes.
If you'll recall. Now, they were behind, in fact, several times actually, they were behind such seminal titles as Hill Street Blues, the Manchester United games, a ton of those. So if you're into them, a Euro football game, a game called Prison.
Did you like Hill Street Blues?
The show?
Yeah.
No. I like the theme. That was about it. That's not the theme from Hill Street Blues. That's the theme from Taxi.
Wow.
Once again, you're a fool. And I never can tell if you're just an idiot or you're pretending to be an idiot. I guess either way, it doesn't matter. They also did Saber Team. Oh,
we know about that, yeah.
And Soccer Kid. No surprise there. So this was this was published by Chrysalis and developed by them. Double trouble, right? So the guy that the men behind this, I'm not going to go through all these guys, but some of these guys are responsible for some of my favorite Amiga games when I looked at what they did. The coder on this game was a guy named Simeon C. Pashley, and he did Shadow Warriors, which I thought was a really cool game.
A little bit slow, but
what the heck? No. The musician on this was a guy named Matt Furness. He did a lot of games and a lot of arcade ports on the Amiga, including Chase HQ, Cyberball.
Cool.
He did Hard Drive and Tubin. Ultima 6, Shadow Warriors, and a ton more stuff. So they did a ton of stuff. So you've got a pretty experienced team here. One of the graphics guy worked on Blastroids. Remember that one? So you had a lot of people that did graphics and that did a lot of different stuff. So these guys, for the most part, this is a pretty seasoned outfit. This game was released in two varieties, two different flavors. You had your straight up ECS OCS version, then you had the Amiga CD32 version. Now for this time, for whatever reason, I chose to play the old version. The
I chose to play that version because that was the WHD version that I had. Yeah.
I played it off disc. There you go. So you mentioned, did this get released on anything else? Answer: no.
Interesting.
It never got released on anything else. Which who knows why? Soccer Kid got released on tons of stuff. So one would wonder why that happened.
Now, the Soccer Kid, did that come before or after Arabian Nights?
I'm guessing it came before. I didn't look at the date on Soccer Kid, so
Okay.
somebody could probably back me up on that. I will start out by saying the fella you play in this game is Sinbad Jr. Now, Sinbad Jr. and Soccer Kid look eerily similar. That's all. I'm just going to go there. They're very similar in the way the size, the way they look, kind of that cutesy look to it. So this game starts out with a wacky cinematic.
This, you know what this reminded me of?
We didn't talk about this.
No.
So I know what you're going to say.
Right.
But go ahead and say what you're going to say.
Let's say it on 3. 1, 2, 3. Super Frog.
No, that's not what I thought you were going to Wrong. No. The correct answer is CDI's Zelda game.
Oh.
That's what the animation looks like.
You know,
And
that's a better
not
answer.
A good thing.
That's a better
not
answer.
A good thing. The
yeah.
guy that did Super Frog is a national treasure.
Well,
Sports.
it's a typical Amiga
Listen,
overreaction.
no, it's not. Please, direct all hate mail to both. I love Mr. Schwartz. He's a genius. So, the animation in this shows Sinbad Jr. Now, clearly, Sinbad Jr. hit the skids after his dad's success.
Yeah.
Sinbad Jr.'s the gardener at the castle. What the hell happened to him?
He blew all his money.
All he got was his dad's sword, and he's chopping grass with it. No good. So, the game starts off with a cinematic of Sinbad, and he's looking longingly at the princess. He's
right.
Like, man, look at this princess. That's my kind of girl. If only she would notice me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what happens in these situations, right? Bowser. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. It might as well have been Bowser. A dragon man comes
Bluto.
down and grabs her and flies off. All right? So who's going to save her? Well, the gardener, right? No. Because the gardener is immediately arrested and thrown in prison.
Right.
Why?
They think that he did it.
This is sort of eerily similar to Prince of Persia.
Yeah.
Another guy who loves the princess and then gets thrown in jail and he has to escape the dungeon.
This is a much better game.
Well, are you kidding me, Bo?
No.
You're starting off with a bad foot. So, at this point, you are Sinbad Jr. and you start off trying to escape the dungeon. So, what is this game? This game is as straight up, I don't want to say generic, but I would say all the usual suspects are here. It's a straight up platform game with, admittedly, some puzzle elements that range from interesting to annoying. Let's go there. Your character is a little cutesy guy in a fez with a sword. And this game has an inventory system, that is probably the most unusual aspect of it. It's funny thing about the inventory system, you've got this vast inventory slots.
You got like 20 slots.
How many did you ever fill up?
2.
By the way, let's just before we start, how far did you get in this game?
I got past the first level.
Okay, I beat the game.
Okay.
I put it on unlimited lives, but I went through everything. So my knowledge of this is now intimate. I beat the entire game. I never had more than like 4 things in my inventory. So either I'm an idiot. Now I did play this on Brain Dead. So maybe if you advance the level somewhat.
Well, one of the things, this game gives you a completion percentage when you complete the level, and so it's possible to get through the game without finding all of the stuff, sort of like Symphony of the Night.
So, what do you do in this game? Well, you escape jail at first, and escaping jail is a series of leaps over pits, leaps over spikes, leaps over hanging platforms. On the first level, you have to rescue a prisoner. How do you rescue him? You've got to go get enough money to pay off a snake charmer. I don't want to spoil the game for anybody, but that's what you do. So this game has currency. Now
gems.
On those, see, this is where since you only got to pass the first level, the currency is different on every level.
I'm talking about the first level.
Yeah, it's different on every level. So on the first level, you got your gems. And one level, you've got skulls. You collect all kinds of wacky stuff, and this currency can be. Sometimes I'm trying to remember if it's used every level. I know it's used several times, but there's no store where you get to go buy like secret moves.
Right.
You just use it to get past. It's used as a gate basically. On this level, for example, you have to buy a snake from a snake charmer, and the snake is a. I even wrote this down because it struck me as so stupid.
It's a rigid snake.
It's a rigid snake, so you remembered it too.
Yeah.
And you go and use it as a crank to crank down a prisoner.
And to be honest with you, one of the many things that I like about this game is that they could have easily taken the easy slacker's way out, like in Super Frog, and just say, you have to have this many things to get to the exit. But no, they actually worked it into the story. You've got to be able to buy this item to be able to get past this puzzle to get through.
We mentioned that you have a sword. The sword, there's not a ton of like combat.
No,
I mean there's some guy. Again, I played on. I don't know what level did you play on.
I played on easy or whatever the normal difficulty was.
I think it was training.
No, I was one above training.
So you occasionally run into soldiers or other things you have to kill, but also you'll have to use sort of chop through walls, dirt, sort of stuff. What were your initial impressions, Bo?
Happiness, glee. I was so glad to be playing a great game for the Amiga. This game does so many things right. This game is probably like if you take Dizzy, the Dizzy series, and you make it better, you end up with a game like this. Because
again, send your hate mail to Bode.
This game takes the inventory kind of puzzle solving element of the Dizzy games, which was very unique and kind of trend setting for the time. But then you get put into this world where your character actually controls pretty fluidly. You go through all these different scenes. The stages are not overly long. The customs thing at the end, when you're tallying up all your currency and all, how much you did, I thought that was a cute touch. They could have easily just put up a blank screen like so many Amiga games and just say, well done,
games
move on.
In general do that, not just Amiga games.
Nothing like the Amiga, I can tell you that.
Listen, I'm going to punch you in the Jimmy if you still go try bad mouth on the computer.
So anyway, the only bad thing about this game is that every game plays Sinbad Jr. acts like he's on ice at all times.
Wait till you get to the ice level.
Yeah. I saw that because I watched the full playthrough and I was like, boy, if he was acting slippery before, this must be a nightmare. Your momentum carries you much further than you should be. If you play this game with a controller with the WHD load version, it maps all 3 buttons to a controller. So you've got your inventory on a button, your jump on a button, and your sword on a button. It makes it very fun to play. My first impressions and my overall impressions of this game, excellent platformer, definitely in the top 10 platformers on the system. Not the Addams Family, not as good as the Addams Family.
I'm not going to totally disagree with you, but I am going to pull some stuff out into the light from the darkness on this game.
I know you're going to talk about the shoot 'em up levels. I didn't get to those.
Okay, for starters, Sinbad Jr. controls well. Okay, I had no problems controlling him. I thought the game was fair for the most part. I'll get to that, my beefs with it. I thought the game went, like you said, the levels aren't too long. The puzzle elements in this are interesting. There were a couple that I had to get help with, but for the most part, they were pretty interesting. And for the most part, they made sense.
Right.
On the second level, I got really flustered because I couldn't figure out what to do. And you go to this lady who gives you a thimble, and you have to. And I had to go back and look at the playthrough. You have to collect this guy's tears in the thimble. I couldn't even tell he was crying. I thought he was spitting. And so it never occurred to me that I would try to catch tears in a thimble. But you have to get the tears to water a plant to get off the level. That sucked. I'd have to say that puzzle needs work because it didn't look like he was crying, and also it's a thimble. I mean, why not give us a bucket or something?
Right.
You know, come on.
Well, maybe that's part of the humor. This game is said to have humorous elements.
Well, I couldn't figure out why in the customs office there was a poster up that just said rabies. What's that all about?
I think that it's like when you go to a customs. Have you ever been to a customs office before?
Yes, at one time.
Okay, so in a lot of customs, there's lots of posters that say like, "Do not bring these things into our country."
Well, what would have been funnier? It should have said Arabies. You get it? Because it's Arabian.
That would be funny.
See,
you should have got a job at Chrysalis.
I know. Well, there you go. So the first level I thought was pretty solid. I think the first level was actually probably my favorite level.
Really?
Yeah. The second level was okay. Here are some problems I had going forward because this game rapidly deteriorated the further I got. I like the second level, which is a forest level. And there were a lot of touches that we talk about. When you jump up into the trees, leaves fall down. This game is tons of cunningly placed secrets, a la Mario or something, this game implements the secret areas very well.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
They're fun. And sometimes the secret levels sometimes the little secret rooms are challenging too. You have to be kind of clever to get through them. Sometimes you don't get what you want. So I give it A+ to that. There are hidden areas. There are places you jump in. Like on the underwater level, there's a pipe you jump in, and you can't see your character, so you sort of have to negotiate by feel and sound. It was pretty cool. Okay. The fact that this guy has an idle animation I like. You know, if you don't touch the joystick, he just stands there doing something. He has one of those animations where he's getting ready to fall off the cliff. I like those little touches.
Yeah. Chrysalis, I mean, they really looked at the popular platformers of the day and tried to emulate what was going on.
There's that.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you should do.
They didn't reinvent the wheel here.
No,
let's put it that way. Now, the first boss, did you get to the first boss? It's basically like a giant whack-a-mole.
Right.
It wasn't the best. Now, you go to this flying level. This is where the game really starts to go off the cliff. The flying levels in this are crap.
That's, reading all the reviews on Limit and things, they universally despised.
How do you botch that? That should be the easiest part of the game. Now, I will say this. The levels take place when you're on a magic carpet, and the background has this sort of like the sky going from Earth to space.
Okay.
And it's pretty. There's like a rainbow effect, but you're zoomed way out, way out.
Yeah, your sprite's real small.
Are real small, and it just sucks, and it just ends. There's no until you get to the one with the end boss, but there's no you're not trying to kill an X amount of people, or you're not. It just goes away, and the enemies that just repeat over and over. Those suck. That's a missed opportunity, and to me, it seems like laziness to be complete. Because that should have been where another level was, because this game's not very long, and so that was one of my big gripes. The next level is you're on a boat. The boat is you have to go around and kill. You have to fight these big squids to get fish. Get this guy to cook you a meal to get you out of the boat. All right. It's not the best. It's okay. It's a little more It's probably the most claustrophobic one. Then you get to the water level. The water level sucks. I didn't like it a bit. Now, luckily, it's not super long. It's just not very good.
It follows in the long tradition of water levels being awful.
Well, that's what when you said this, they looked at what everybody else was doing and did the same thing. Listen, this game has a forest level. It's got a water level. It's got an ice level. There's nothing new here.
Right.
They did not innovate that much. Now, there's a level where you go get in a mine car and you go down into the mines. You're in the mine car for a little while, but my mine car eventually it went away. So so you're just walking around the mine car level. That's not that much fun.
No.
So that level didn't do much for me. Then you're in a diamond mine after that. The one thing I did say, again, a little touch. They've got these they've got these conveyor belts in the mine, and in the conveyor belts, if you look underneath the conveyor belt, there are these turtles just moving as fast as their little legs can go to turn these.
So it's a nice little artistic touch.
Which
there,
I always thought that was pretty funny. The end boss in that level was this sort of like devil, and he's going to have his son kill you or his buddy down at the bottom. And what you've got to do is you've got to spin these wheels, like pipe wheels, like open and close pipes, and water will come on the ceiling and hit the demon or the devil.
Okay.
And if you get him wet enough, then he goes away.
That's how
that was
work,
probably the most clever boss they had. Then you've got more flying. So there's more than one. Now the flying at this one has a dragon at the end. He's the easiest guy in this whole game. You can crush him easy. I didn't have any problems with him. Now, when you get to the last level, it's ice. All right? The ice level is just what you said. It is real tough to control. Now, I will admit there are some very interesting puzzle elements on this level using the ice and using these like sideways springs.
Mm-hmm.
You know how your guy can, if you take off running, you can duck and slide under stuff like Mario.
Mm-hmm.
On this level, springs will shoot you towards spikes. You have to sort of duck under them to get to, and you have to use that move to get to different rooms and stuff. And you have to build up enough speed and momentum to get enough speed to slide under there, because if you slide halfway through, your guy will stand up and die.
Right.
So
and this is another one of those games where anytime any kind of a crushing death is always an instant death. It doesn't take off your life.
That's right. Because even with unlimited or unlimited energy, presumably you would just be killed.
Mm-hmm.
The last boss you fight is one of these guys. You kill him, then he comes back. You kill him, then he comes back. You kill him again. It was okay. It was no great shakes. And the end of the game is some more of that spotty animation of you kissing the princess. Game over. It's about 4 seconds of animation.
Yeah.
So the game's a mixed bag, is what I'm saying. I think the first level was good. I think the first level was really good. The second level was good. The third and fourth levels are not that great. The end level with ice, while I admire the level design, it's real tricky, and the boss is real super brutal. The flying levels are crap, and so they really weigh the game down. The music is good. We should talk about that. What did you think of the music?
I thought the music was okay.
Really? I thought it was pretty good.
I didn't think it was memorable. Like, I didn't walk away humming the tune like I would in a truly memorable game. But it didn't, the loop itself was pretty long, which is always the key. I think that it went a minute or two without repeating. So I thought that was good. I also thought that it was good that the music changes on each level. And so, for an Amiga game, that's pretty good. You've got music and gameplay sound effects going on at the same time. You've got multiple tracks, and each level is a different song. That puts it at the tippity top for this platform.
Well, the flip side of that is there aren't that many levels.
Okay. Well.
And so you're talking, 3-4 songs.
Okay.
Not a big deal. You're also talking about, this game's supposed to have like 7 levels. Well, if you take away the hideous flying levels, it's very short. The playthrough, now I didn't get through it this quick. The playthrough that I looked at, they did it in like 48 minutes, I think. It took me considerably longer, and because you could also get lost on some of these levels, it can get kind of confusing. It's not the worst. I mean, you guys know me. I'm not the best platform player, and I got through it. And I wouldn't even consider it that hard again.
Well, you also had unlimited everything.
No, just unlimited lives. So I got killed and got damaged like I normally would. I'm not saying, could I have beaten this game with no unlimited? No. But I'm just telling you, we've played a lot of Amiga games. This is in the top half of the hardest. You can,
sure.
On this level, you could have a chance.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
It's fun and it's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing they introduced on the second level are these little guys. They're sort of like bombs or whatever that goes, bombs. Or those guys. They just walk around and they explode. Those guys suck, and they're everywhere, and they make a reappearance later on. I didn't like those. Also, those come on the third level or the fourth level. On the second level, these birds come out that are real tough to kill. I didn't like that because they're so small. So the enemy.
I was never able to kill those. I just ran into them and they died.
Yeah, but they hurt you.
Yeah.
I killed them. But the puzzle elements give this some unique flavor. The atmosphere and the setting give it some unique flavor. But overall, to me, this is sort of and by the way, if you're wondering what the AGA version's got that the other version doesn't.
And an additional $10 on the purchase price.
Well,
That's about it.
it's got AGA graphics, obviously, and also what you get is full gamepad support. Okay, so you can use the CD32's pad, which is a good thing because this game has 3 buttons.
Yeah.
But overall, I will give this game. I'd say this is as they say in wrestling, this is a solid B+ player, in my opinion. No more, no less.
It's clear that you like this game much less than I did.
Well, I mean, a B+ is good.
Yeah, if you're looking for something that scratches the same itch as Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo or Sonic the Hedgehog, that kind of a game, but with an interesting puzzle mechanic where you have to get items and combine items together to progress through the game. It's not just a hold right and jump type affair. I mean, this game it's right up. There's not another game on the platform that controls this well, that looks this good, that sounds this good. There just isn't.
I don't agree with you on that.
Okay, tell me one.
Well, I mean, you say that.
Tell me one.
You say that. I can't just say here all off games. I think Prince of Persia is a much better game.
That's a totally different genre.
Well, I mean, you
like
mocked it earlier. Well, I
didn't tell you it was a good genre.
What about Yo-Jo? It does a lot of the same sort of stuff, and it's a lot of fun.
It's not a lot of fun.
You liked Yo-Jo. You can't even remember playing it. What about? We've played a lot of solid platformers over the years.
Yeah, we have, but there's not there's no other games
that's so special. I don't get it. To me, it's a slightly above generic, fairly well done game that have some hit or miss levels. I mean, is it better than, say, Super Frog?
Oh, yes. God, yes.
But what about, like, for example, I thought RoboCod 2 was a really good game.
RoboCod doesn't control as well as this game. With a platformer, control is everything. If you don't have good control, you can forget about everything else.
Because it automatically gave you that second button.
No. I'm saying it because your guy controls like you think he should.
He controls well. I mean, I will say that.
Right. Okay, so you take that. First of all, that's 9/10 of the game right there. Then if you say, okay, now you've got to do something else besides just collect 10 of whatever so you can get through the gate at the end. Because that's all other.
Like that.
That's most other Amiga platformers are like
Lionheart is a perfect example of a brilliantly done platform game that's beautiful, has great music, and has good control.
It does not have good controls.
And is original. So there you go. There you go. You wanted the best, you got the best. I priced this sucker on. We should look over the reviews here because this thing got reviewed. The folks over at Lemon gave this 2 scores. They gave it an 8 for the 8 and some change for the CD32 version, and 7 and some change for the OCS ECS version. So what you've got here is a lot of reviews, sort of like what I said. Amiga Action 82, Amiga Force 85, Amiga Format 80.
But remember, this British grading scale, 80s are great.
Amiga Power 83, CU Amiga 86, the One a 90. And the rest of these computing, format, power, 85, 88, 88, 82. Enough said. And that's where I would put this, somewhere in probably about the 82 to 85 level. That's not bad. You act like I'm killing it. I'm not. But I'm not going to exalt it because having played it, it
deserves exaltation.
There are levels I didn't like. I mean, it is what it is. Levels I didn't like. Any final thoughts on this?
Well, let's go over some of our own community's reviews.
Well, I'll take a look. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Pixels at Dawn says, a visually and audibly appealing platformer that always looked good in magazines back in the day. It has a decent difficulty curve once you master the traditional Amiga lack of friction. We'll happily return and complete this game, although the birds in the forest level can frankly do one.
Bam.
8.5 out of 10. Chris Folds says, what do you get when you try and combine the speed of Sonic with the finesse of Mario but don't have the skill to pull it off? This game.
Wow.
Decent graphics and sound, but overly floaty controls and weird, stupid side-on shooter levels are just plain bad. 5.5 out of 10.
Wow. Who was that, Folds?
That was Folds.
I didn't get any Sonic vibe from this, did you?
The underwater levels, maybe. Those were always the most annoying parts of Sonic games, yeah. Graham Vebke says, a fairly unoriginal plot spawns this run and jump game where your character wields a sword and tries to rescue a princess. The music suits the theme but can get repetitive, and the art is well drawn with smooth animations. Level design is okay, the puzzles aren't that difficult. Overall, this is a very confused game that tries to do multiple genres, but the shmup levels are dire. 5 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to give it a better score than that.
Yeah.
Man, Graham usually likes stuff too.
And finally, Duncan Styles, the Dunk. He says, this is a fairly standard platformer wrapped up in good graphics, music, and effects. Every now and then it does something to mix things up, and there are lots of secrets to find, which is always fun. The inertia of your character will cause you issues, and something isn't quite right with the jumping. 7.5 out of 10.
You know, several of those fellows mentioned the controls, the jumping. And listen. I can't judge people, but I'm certainly. It's funny because I say this. I think this is the difference between people that are used to playing computer platformers versus people that are used to playing consoles.
That might be true.
Because to me, this felt like any Super. I mean, in terms of the way the guy controlled, it felt like any Super Nintendo style.
I felt the same way.
So I checked this out on the eBay, Bo, because I know you're interested. I can see you've got the money in your hand. By the way, I found I have copies in Canada, so we could actually buy this if we wanted to. If you want the CD32 version of the jewel case, the instructions, and the CD, $20 to $40 takes it home. You might get lucky and get it a smidge cheaper, but probably around $20. If you want the big box ECS version, $40 to $50, and that's what they're selling for. All this in Europe, except for the one in Canada, which is CD32. You might get it for like $27, something like that. So this, I don't know if this got us a release over here. I'm guessing since the Canadians have it, it probably did get an NTSC release. But the one I played was in PAL, so there you go.
All right, well, we did forget one thing, and this is the second or third week in a row that we've forgotten this. I did want to plug some of your awesome new content on YouTube, Aaron.
My awesome content?
Yes. So you've been...
When did I make that?
You've been the league leader in terms of awesome videos here on the site lately. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this video that you just put out about the Atomic Pie and City of Heroes?
Well, a couple of the videos I put out, I mean, they were simple videos I put it out for. I made it widely known that I picked up an Atomic Pie, $35. I couldn't say no. And amongst the things I wanted to do with it was see if I could run City of Heroes on it, which I attempted to do last night in a very shaky, unprofessional video that I shot on my phone. And it worked-ish, The funny thing is when you install Windows 10 on the Atomic Pi, it leaves you with you have to go get a special version because now the normal version won't let you really put it on anything less than like 20 some gigs because Windows is a huge storage sucking scumbag. But I had to go get a special version. But anyway, long story short, I had about a gig of space left after I installed it. So this is running off of a USB drive, but it does work. Driver issues here and there, but it works. This is playing City of Heroes. A lot of people have put a Linux build on here and are using it for emulation, and it does just as well as you would expect. It does somewhat better than the Raspberry Pi. Again, I like the idea that a $35 computer can run a modern OS. It's funny. I was thinking about this. I was talking to my buddy at work, and these cheap single board tiny little computers are going to get better and better, and much like emulation when it comes to arcade machines, it's going to get to the point where no one cares and it won't matter. Because now, I mean, I could stick a meme on this, and I could show a bunch of footage of me playing video, but no one cares. Anyone can do that with anything at any time.
I'm already bored.
So I'm really just trying to figure out what I'm going to do with this. So if any of you folks listening to the Amigos have any idea what I should do with this Atomic Pi, feel free to tell me. But I put a couple videos up of that. One of them how to run power, because this thing doesn't have any power inputs, as ludicrous as that is. We also, me and the Brent, have put a couple ARGs up. In the past few weeks we haven't really talked about. We did last week's show was on rhythm games. We did a couple of the music games. And Brent picked Space Channel 5, and I picked DJ Hero 2. Have you ever played either one of those?
No, I've not.
I'm surprised you haven't played Space Channel 5. Dreamcast?
Yeah,
were you a Dreamcast guy?
I was into the Dreamcast, but I never played Space Channel 5.
You know about Ooh La La.
Yeah. I remember she was.
Yeah,
absolutely. I thought that your whole discussion, I went into this episode thinking I was going to despise it. I thought it would be worse than the Xbox episode, but it actually was great because the story behind Space Channel 5 and the whole Delight thing and all that stuff, real interesting.
That Xbox game, that one of my all-time favorite games was featured on there. I mean, whether you don't like the Xbox or not, it's got that test drive off Eva Destruction game is really fun. 4 players simultaneously. You should give that a shot. We did another show 2 weeks ago that we didn't talk about, and I'll be done if I can remember. What was it? Did you remember what the 2 week ago show was?
It was some other kinds of games. It would be great if I could easily negotiate the YouTube channel.
Both. I will say, there
button
was
mashers.
Button Mashers. It's funny we should cover that because we played a lot of a track and field-esque game this week for the Spectrum show. But on this one, we cover track and field for the Atari 2600 and the main event arcade game. which was one I owned up until a few months ago, didn't I, Bo?
You did.
Before I jettisoned it.
I don't think I ever actually played Main Event, though.
A wise decision.
Yeah.
I will say the track and field game for the Atari, Brent was dead on. With that controller, it was a lot of fun.
You know, I didn't even realize there was a track and field port for the Atari. I've owned a million Atari games, and I've never once seen this come across my way.
Did you listen to this episode?
Yeah, man.
So you know about the little controller, and it would probably work on the Spectrum. I thought about that.
Yeah.
I went to go buy it from the place I last saw it. It was gone. So I was disappointed. This week, if you're an ARG, we're going to be covering text games. And both the games we're covering, I believe, we're doing our Amiga ports of the games.
Oh, wow.
So if you want to watch more Amiga content coming on ARG this week, but of course it's the text-based version.
Yeah. Now, Pixels at Dawn has put up some exclusive content related to the Southwest Amiga group. And actually, Dave, one of the organizers, is here in the chat with us right now. But anyway, this is the guy that made the Checkmate
Man, these are
case.
These are so awesome.
Isn't that awesome?
I've been following this since Jump Street, and I'm like, man, that looks so good. They're doing it the right way too, and I'm not just saying it because I love it. We talked about this off air many times. I'm like, man, look at this thing; it's going to be awesome. So when I saw this pop up from the show, I was pleased.
Looks like we've had a little.
I've developed some sort of cataract. There we go.
So yeah, he's got the whole talk from this guy up here, Stephen Jones.
Now, is Stephen Jones is the same fellow that interviewed the guy from Cloanto, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Somebody in the chat room stop me if I'm wrong.
There can't be that many Stephen Jones in the Amiga scene.
I know.
I mean, it's like having more than one Paul Harrington. Paul Kitching, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, Jason says I'm right, so yeah.
He's also put up a talk that Pixel Vixen did.
Yes.
Oh, this is not the right video.
Good friend of the show.
Yeah. She did a tutorial on Deluxe Paint over at Swag that was very well received. This video has gotten quite a few hits. And, Pixel Vixen's got a great way of teaching. She breaks things down. I've watched a couple of her live streams, and they're always entertaining. I'm not what you call an artiste.
Well, you're a musical artist. Your medium is music.
That's true. But I appreciate the craft, as it were. And she is a master of the craft.
Yeah, she's really good at explaining things.
Yeah.
It's not good enough to where I could draw anything. But I'm telling you, before the Amigathon, I'm going to be getting schooled up on all this Deluxe Paint stuff. So when it's time to go to war, I'm going to be ready with some art, I'll be ready to go.
Cool.
Not like last year where I looked like a complete idiot. That never happens on this show, and I was humiliated.
I definitely foresee another D-Paint challenge at Amigathon 2019.
There was one more Swag video too, where it's just like an overall tour,
right,
which was awesome.
Yeah,
that was another awesome one.
Yeah, so
I highly recommend you watch that, and it was very, very well received.
The best thing about that, Pixels did the map, the drawing, the line on the map that represented his travel thingy. I always wanted to do that. I wanted to do that with Amiga Island. I couldn't figure out how to do it.
I remember him talking in Discord how difficult that was.
Yeah.
That's what made it better.
Yeah.
Because when I watch it again, I'm like, man, I can see him struggling at the computer.
You can appreciate
with his hand like this on a drink and his hand going, no.
All right, Aaron. It's time to wrap things up. But before we go, I've got to announce the winners of 2 weeks ago's Patreon Song Challenge. We did not do the Patreon Song Challenge last week. We were doing episode 200. Speaking of which, thank you all so much for your response to episode 200. It was a really fun show. So we're hoping to start our next 200.
Yeah.
This is episode 1 of our next 200.
My God, in episode 400, what are we going to be covering? We found a basic game with stuck in the bottom of a disc caddy.
So last week's Patreon Song Challenge winners were Gary Hucker, Andy Craig, Terry Howard, Pac Billy, and Pixels at Dawn. The song was Old Time Rock and Roll.
That's what that was?
By Bob Seger.
Man, I didn't get that.
Where do you stand on Bob Seger?
Bob Seger is he's like the Mendoza line of music. I sort of like him. I sort of don't like him. He's like the gatekeeper of what I like. If you're better than him, you're in.
Do you want to explain the Mendoza line for our European listeners that have no idea what you're talking about?
There's a fellow in the major leagues who was a
this is baseball, Major League
player.
Baseball.
His lifetime batting average, what was it, 263 or something?
It was something like that, yeah.
And that's known as, his name was Mendoza, and forever that's been known as the Mendoza line. If you're hitting for average under the Mendoza line, you got real problems.
You're going down to the minors.
I think it was like 230 something. I can't remember.
263 seems high.
Because that'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
So when you I don't think I've ever referenced that on the show before, but if you if you are doing worse than Mendoza line, not good. But Bob Seger, he's on the Mendoza line. He's got songs I really like and songs I really hate.
I sort of feel the same way.
You know, like would I see him in concert? No.
I'd see him if he was over at the Regatta. I'd go check him out. Yeah, for free.
Oh yeah. He probably played over there too.
Probably so. Everybody's played over there. All right. If you know the answer to this week's Patreon Song Challenge, send me an email at john@amigospodcast.com.
What's that?
Mindspace. Gary Heather for E-Lunch, Kate Fox, David Pickford.
Man, that was quick.
Cameron Armstrong, Andy Jones, Lobs Terminator, Craig McClellan, 10 Minute Amiga, Edgercast, Counting Virtual, Sheep, Bernard, Quinn, Retroman, Cave, Tim, Drew, Simon, Rose, Joseph, Harrison, Kyle, Eder, Rob, O'Hara, Howard, Nibs, Matthew, Lara, Moore, Andy, Craig, Sean, Zoe, Darren, Low, Max, Colin, 419, Barkbit, Roland Burke, Andrew Monks, Joe the Zombie, John Cook, Dan, Ross, Leaf, Kaland, Alan Kebab, Checo, Taylor, Valor, John Marshall, Matthew Perron, Ricky DeRoche, Creepy Dead Boy, Fig, C to Z, The Slow, North, Stefan, Sorgon, Mortensen, Edvin, Helen, Blender 75, Christopher Hassel, Ravi, Abbott, Chris Folds, Dreamcatcher, Lauren Giroux, Graham Vebke, Lane Denson, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Gary Hucker, C. Brian Jones, Paul Harrington, Duncan Styles, Tips from the Crypt, Josh Nant, Adam Bradley, Jonas Ruler, THT, Eric Nelson, Kim, Tommy Humbert, Stad, Daniel Bingston, Brutal Barracuda, Darren Coles, Jason Warren's Pixels at Dawn, and Kjolb, your barman. Yeah.
How many times was Kebab in there this time?
Kebab only there once this week.
You know, you reminded me of something when you mentioned Ravi in there. We should mention that a meeting of some of our favorite people happened this week where the guys over at Retro Hour interviewed the Guru Meditation
That's
guy.
right. I should have stuck that in the news.
So if you're a Retro Hour Guru Meditation fan, check that out. Those guys you get those four together. It's crazy time.
Oh yeah.
Crazy Amiga time, anyway.
Speaking of crazy Amiga time, Aaron, next week a game I've wanted to play literally for years has finally come up on the docket.
For years?
For years.
We have been doing this for years, so that's possible.
It is very possible.
It's not hyperbole.
Years and years.
All right, what do you got?
Megalomania, the game that launched 1,000 populaces.
I've heard a lot about this game. Is this going to be hard for old A?
No. I think this is a pretty low key deal.
Okay.
I've never played it and know nothing about it, so you can take my opinion for what you will.
This is not some sort of shooter, is what you're saying.
No.
This is one of those navigate menus and delegate authority.
It's a thinking man's game.
Oh man, I'm the worst at those.
All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Until then, keep on playing the Amiga. Adios!